Good morning, it's Scarlett. I'm going to do a get ready with me and talk about my monthly wrap up, which is something I usually do in my newsletter. But since I got this camera, I was like, why not try and make it a video? Today I'm going to do hopefully a simple look. I always say that and then I overcomplicate everything. And it turns into something way more dramatic than I intended, so we'll see if I can stick with my intention. For those of you who don't know, my monthly wrap-ups, what I do is I give an intro to my month and then I list my goal. I go over the goal that I had for the previous month, tell you whether or not I met it, and then I set a goal for the next month. I talk about what I've been listening to, either on YouTube, I don't watch TV really, or what I've been listening to in music, and then I give you an Addy update, which is probably the most important part of my monthly wrap up, and that's it. So let's dive in. So I got some new Urban Decay like moon dust shadows and I'm gonna try them today. I've been trying more liquid eyeshadows just because I want to try them and see if I like them. First of all, I can't believe it's already September, and I say that every time I do a monthly wrap up, but literally, I think it's because I usually end up doing my monthly wrap ups the first week of every month, and then of course there's only 3 weeks left in the month. But oh my God, this month, August went by so fast. The only month that crawls is January, and everyone hates January, or at least it feels like it lasts forever. So, oh God. This month, I really just focused on my goal. So I'm going to jump into a summary of my goal because it's all I did really. And my goal for August was to basically, I call it nest. And I know nesting is like a term that pregnant women use when they're at the end and ready for the baby to come. And it's like sort of this innate primal thing to prep for the baby. But I feel like I have a version of that with my ADHD. So every time I have to refocus on a project, I need to change something about my environment or the technology I'm using. And I have changed as much technology as I possibly can. And I feel like in regard to my technology, I have a really good ergonomic setup. So there's nothing I really want to change. Also, I have tried every single one of those like tablets that are supposed to help you write more because they're not connected to Wi-Fi, and they are just not for me. I have tried the Neo 2, I have tried the Traveler one, can't remember what it's called. It's called Traveler. It's by the Astro House people. You probably know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain that, but I have tried the Remarkable tablet. I've tried everything and they just don't work for me, mostly because I have to pause a lot and go do some research on things that I find. The thing about my brain is like I always will hit something in a book and be like, I have an impression of this myth or thing that I know, but I can't remember the full context. So I always have to pause and go read about it. That's why not having access to internet doesn't work for my brain, because I don't skip ahead. I can't just go insert lore here. I really want to lay that foundation. Otherwise, I feel like I don't have the fuel to continue, if that makes sense. So I decided that I wanted to rearrange my office, and I really wanted to, God, I have tiny lids. Okay. I decided I really wanted to lean into my cottagecore witchy vibes. And I also wanted to split my office into basically 3 separate spaces. And it was only in 2 spaces prior. So I had a writing space with my standing desk, and then I had my couch. And my couch is important in my office because I sit with my dog. And if I don't sit with my dog's name is Adelaide, for those of you who don't know. If I don't sit with her, she gets grumpy. And she's a pity, so she makes her anger known, and it guilts me. So there's a part in the day where I sit with my dog and I work on the couch, and I have a separate setup for that. It's actually a hospital table. And if you want to see that, I'll show it to you. But so I've always had that, and I've had my writing space, but I wanted a journaling space. Because if you have followed me for any length of time, you know that journaling is part of my hobby, one of my hobbies. People used to ask me all the time what my hobbies were outside of working out, because back in the day I was training for a fitness competition, so I posted a lot about that. And they would go, besides working out, what are your hobbies? But journaling is one of my hobbies. Decorating is one of my hobbies. So I ordered a new desk with a hutch, and it came in. And so I set about organizing my space. If you followed me on Instagram, you probably saw my progress with that. And I love it. I also decorated. It's cozy. I want to be there in the morning. The other thing I did was set up a kind of schedule for myself around the space. And so what that means is, so I wake up at 4:15 every morning. Sometimes it's 4, but mostly it's 4:15, because honestly, the coffee shop doesn't open till 4:30, and I need coffee. Coffee's part of my ritual to start writing. Wake up at 4:15, I go downstairs, I sit at my desk. I work there on a project until around 8 o'clock, when I pause and I go work out. After my workout, I do this, I get ready for the day, and then I sit back down and I work on the project until around noon. I take a 1-hour break, sometimes a 2-hour break, until I can get my brain back in order. I have ADHD, as I've explained before, and I take a medication for it, and I take a fast-acting medication, but since I take it so early, it really just dies out by noon. So I take a second dose, and once I feel like that hits, I go back to my desk and I work on a different project. So in the morning, I'm writing, and in the afternoon, right now I'm doing footnotes for Touch of Darkness and a Game of Fate, for a collector's edition that I have been working on for a while. Or I will write scripts for this kind of stuff. Like I'll start brainstorming what I want to talk about. I'll think of an idea for something I think might be interesting for you guys to know about, like any of my books. That's a new development, actually. So it's working out really, really well. And then I usually stop working around 5, sometimes 4. And I just listen to my brain. If my brain is like, I cannot do any more of this, I stop. Because if I try to force it, I will get a headache. Or it's not a headache. I feel like pressure builds in my head, and it's just my body telling me, like, really fucking stop. So that's what I've been doing. It's worked out super well. Take a shot for every time I say that. My journaling space is really for the weekends. I try not to interrupt my work week with journaling, because I will get lost in it. It's all I will do. And journaling for me really is about setting intention. It's about cleansing myself of all the just debris and like negativity that I built up over the week if I'm having a hard week, and then setting my intention for the rest for the next week. So, and I have really started to enforce a rest on the weekends, which I think has changed my productivity. Unless I'm on deadline, like hardcore deadline, I work on the weekend. So the other goal that I had for August was to write the first chapter of Terror at the Gates. I didn't do that, but I'll tell you why. I am halfway through the first chapter though. And to give myself credit, the chapters for Terror at the Gates are super fucking long. Some of them are like 30 pages. But my friend Alira, who also writes under Jade Hernandez, I was telling her how much I struggle working, like switching through projects. And she was like, why don't you try switching every other day? Because I was trying to half my day, like work on one book in the morning and one book in the afternoon. And I just could not do that. My brain, I didn't have enough power to create by the time I got to the afternoon. So I have to work on projects that just don't require that level of creativity, which is why I do the footnotes right now. So I implemented that strategy, and on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I work on Terror 2 because that one needs the most time. And on Tuesday, Thursday, I work on A Christmas of Chaos, and that is a novella. It's shorter, does not need as much time. Now, I did get to chapter 2 on A Christmas of Chaos this week, and I did write, it's not a prologue, but I wrote, the scene in Terror cannot be part of the first chapter. Don't ask me why, it doesn't fit, but it's information that needs to be communicated. And I actually call it anastasis, which is resurrection. And I finished that scene, and then I moved on to the first chapter of Terror, and it's a fight scene. And fight scenes are they're just difficult. I think sex scenes and fight scenes are equally difficult. And I saw someone try to argue one time that how can a sex scene be just as difficult as a fight scene? And I just thought, who are you to decide what is difficult for an author to write? It all just depends on language, right? Like, I don't know, like after you've been writing sex scenes and fight scenes for as long as I have, or not really even as long as I have, for as many books as I have 13 books, and all of them have sex scenes and fight scenes. You have to really be mindful of how you're changing up your language so things don't read the same, you know? And I'm sure some people out there feel like I write the same thing over and over again, but I don't, and that's what matters. Say, like, I'm giving myself grace on that goal, and it's just gonna move over into September. So let's talk about my September goals before you move on to basically what I did for fun. So my goal for September is just to write, and also to finish my footnotes, because my deadline for that is literally October 1st. I have to go through my head and be like, wait, August, September, October, so I know what month comes next. Anyways, they're due October 1st, so I have to get those done, and I've just been dragging my feet. And the reason I've been dragging my feet is because I do have to remind myself, like, what were you thinking here? Who were you referencing here? And let me just tell you guys, there are a lot of Greek epics, and a lot of stuff comes from various Greek epics. Like, every Greek author added something to every myth. And I pulled from literally all of them in different ways. So I have to go back and remind myself, like, oh yeah, I took this from Ovid. Oh yeah, I took this from Virgil. It just takes a while. But my other goal for August is to obviously continue writing Terror at the Gates and A Christmas of Chaos. I'm not going to assign a word count to the books because I never operate that way. And if I try, I'll fail. I don't know. I don't think in terms of word count. I have been blending this eyeshadow for fucking ever. But it's not blending super well, so I'm just gonna have to let it go. And I don't think anyone will be able to tell. They'll just be like, oh, you have glittery eyelids. Can you tell? Moving on. So my goal is to just write as much as I can in September on Terror at the Gates and A Christmas of Chaos. The thing about both is I'm in the beginning. So I'm laying a foundation for the rest of the book. It always takes me the longest to write the beginning of the book because I just think that laying that foundation is so important for the rest of the book. it informs literally everything. It informs the plot. You know, it's where you lay seeds for the bigger arc that's coming, or arcs really. So yeah, that's my goal for September. Okay, so I went ahead and finished my eye makeup, and then I put a lip stain liner on my lips. These are the Huda lip contour stains. This one's darker than I wanted, but the thing is, if you let it sit for a little while, you can kind of wipe it off and it'll be lighter. So I look kind of weird right now, but I love these. These work really well. The problem is you have to store them upside down, and if you don't, you're not gonna get any color payoff. Be forewarned. So next on my monthly wrap up is what I have been watching, and it's very specific this go around because I have been watching one thing. I am a very big fan of true crime. I wouldn't say a fan of true crime. I am fascinated by true crime because I have no idea why. The psychology of people, the strange thing. I hate horror movies, right? But I will watch true crime, which is, I don't know. I don't think I'm the only one who does that, but I've been fascinated for forever with this case, the Dan Markel case. And I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but basically it was this huge conspiracy to hire a hitman by his ex-in-laws to kill him. And they did. And if it was written in a novel, people would be like, this is fucking dumb. Like, no one would get away with this. But guess what? Well, they didn't get away with it. They did for a while, actually. But I just am so fascinated with it. So I have been watching some context. Okay, so 4 people have already gone to prison for life, except for one who took a plea deal for this crime. And they are Sigfredo Garcia, who actually carried out the hit. His friend who tagged along, knowing it was going to be a hit, basically took the plea deal, and he got like 25 years. So he'll be out before he's dead. You'll see why I say that. Then Dan Markel, who was married to Wendy Adelson, her brother also was convicted, and he will spend life in prison. And he is the weirdest person I've ever met. He thinks that 37-year-old women are disgusting. And I'm 2 years away from 37. They played these phone calls for the jury. And if I was a 30-anything woman on that jury, I would have been like fucking guilty. Anyways, his mother, Wendy Adelson's mother, the matriarch of this family, went on trial. She had several charges. I learned recently about lesser includeds. They dropped the lesser includeds before the jury deliberated. So she was, I believe, being charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and something else I can't remember. And I watched the trial as it unraveled. The prosecution, Georgia Kaffelman is the prosecutor. She has tried this case essentially 4 times. She knows her shit. I just don't know that there was any defense. I mean, I will say the first 2 days when they had just like the intro witnesses, I was like, I don't know if there's enough. I think maybe there will be some reasonable doubt. But listen, then there was this thing they call the bump, and it was the FBI approaching Donna Adelson. The family had a specific way of communicating with the hitman, and it went like this. Donna Adelson, her son, Charlie Adelson, who went to his ex-girlfriend, Catherine McBanawa, who went to her baby daddy, who was Sigfredo Garcia, who was the hitman. And the bump, this FBI agent who basically, he didn't threaten them because that would have been illegal, just gave him a piece of paper, and she did not call the police. She called her son, and they recorded the phone calls, and they are so damning. And one of the things she said is she tried not to go into specifics, but her son, Charlie, he just cannot help himself. He is a broken record. He is so difficult to listen to. And he would say, we could get away with this if everyone just keeps their mouth shut. Fucker couldn't keep his mouth shut. And basically it proved how they communicated about Dan Markel's murder. And we are still, the people who've been following this case for this long are really curious to see if Wendy, the ex-wife, is indicted on charges of first-degree murder, just like the rest of her family. And it was very interesting for me because I typically have absolutely no empathy for people who do stupid things. I think it's because young children are involved in this. They were young at the time. Their dad died. And it just, I mean, they are losing everyone. They're losing everything. My only hope is that if Wendy is indicted, the children are able to be with their paternal grandparents and just have that love and support from them, because they are such strong people. And I mean, this is their 5th trial. Imagine that. 5 trials for the death of your son because someone decided that his life was not worth anything. The other part that is just, makes me feel like these people were very rich, very well off. The patriarch of the family, Donna's husband, is a dentist. He owned a practice called the Adelson Institute. And then the son was a periodontist. And you know, they have an older son too. His name is Rob. But he was basically exiled from the family because he decided he was not going to marry the woman his mother chose for him. And I have an issue with the way that people in Donna's circle excuse her behavior because they'll say she's a Jewish mother. This is standard. But Dan Markel's mother is Jewish, very Jewish. She is very dedicated to her religion, and so is Dan Markel. And she didn't do what Donna did. In fact, Dan is, he really respects his culture and asked that the food at his and Wendy's wedding be kosher, and Donna just ignored it. And Dan had to tell all of his family, who is Jewish, that they could not eat at his wedding because Donna is a fucking asshole. That was a red flag, but I still don't think he really knew, because from what I've learned, Wendy is just very manipulative, and she is good at basically taking on the personality of the person in front of her. So I don't think he really realized it until he was enmeshed with the family. I'm waiting to see if Wendy will be indicted. I think she will be because Georgia and her team are just so brilliant in the way that they slowly bring in more evidence. Donna's motive was Wendy, and Charlie's motive was Donna. And you can tell that based on that in the trial, the evidence shifts and certain people come to the forefront because of that. So that is what I have been watching. I am just fascinated with the psychology of these people. I feel like because they were well off, Charlie was a periodontist. He was also a playboy. He thought he was a playboy, and it worked because he had a lot of money and he flaunted it. I just think they thought they could really get away with anything. The FBI and the police were just so good at this. And it happened in Tallahassee, which they say is a small town. I've never been to Tallahassee. I have no clue. Maybe compared to other towns in Florida, it is a small town. But everyone loved Dan Markel. And because he was involved in law, a lot of people knew him. He was just beloved. So the way they have tried to paint him in a bad light has really left a bad taste in people's mouths. But that is what I have been obsessed with since the start of her trial. But she was found guilty. She tried to pretend that she was crying when it was announced. There were no tears. Red flag. So just a manipulation tactic to make the jury feel bad. By the way, I love the judge on this case. His name is Judge Stephen Everett. He has a good sense of humor, but when court starts, he is all business and he calls everyone out on their bullshit. And it was so satisfying to watch. So if you have a chance, you should, if you're interested in true crime, you should really check out some overviews of that case. The next case I'm hoping to watch, honestly, is the Corey Richins case, and also the Gilgo Beach serial killer. very curious to see what that one's like, because I have actually been following that case for years, and I was shocked when they found the guy, and guess what? He was another well-off person. He was an architect. It's just, it blows my mind, these people who do well from themselves. I mean, I guess it's sort of an MO of some serial killers, some killers. They have this secret life and they present in a way so they're not suspected. And that's the case for him. So I've been watching that. That's really all I've been watching. When I am listening to music, I'm creating the playlist for Terror 2, which is all rock. And that is what I listen to. Look at me. I was asked one time if I was a Swiftie. I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. I do love Taylor Swift. And one of her albums, it's not the Folklore album, it's the other one. Evermore. Her Evermore album was actually, I consider it my grief album, because I listened to it nonstop after my dad died. When I listen to that album, it's a little difficult because I think about my mindset when I was listening to it. So I'm creating the playlist for Terror at the Gates. I will list it below for anyone who wants to listen. It's still a work in progress, and I'll probably add, of course, I will say Terror at the Gates just lends itself so well to Sleep Token songs and Bad Omens. I'm trying to be strategic about how many. I can't have the whole playlist be Sleep Token as much as I want to, but I'm just trying to be strategic about the Sleep Token songs I add. So that's what I've been doing as far as music. As far as my gaming, which if you followed my other newsletters, you know that in my downtime, I play my Switch 2, and I've still been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. It takes a little while because really you can destroy everything in the world, and I go through and destroy everything in the world because you can find treasure chests and they tell you where the bananas are and where the fossils are, and you can use the fossils to pay for things and you can use the bananas to get skill points. Anyways, that is what I have been playing, and I really enjoy it. Donkey Kong is like an OG thing. What I like about this game is they did actually put, you know how they put side games within the game? Some of the side games are they have the nostalgic feel of the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong, and that is the one that I played the most growing up with my brother and my mom. So I really, really enjoyed that. I'm gonna pause for a moment before I give my Addie update and work on this lip. Okay, I don't know if you can tell in the light, but I did go over the lip stain with a cloth, and it does wipe away a little bit of the deep color. So you're left with like a very light outline. And the nice thing, like if I do an event, I'll cover my lips in this because it will last all day and I won't have my lipstick flake. And I hate that because I am constantly like trying to get it off while I'm talking to readers, and you probably noticed it if you've seen me in person. So I hate that. Sorry about that. It's weird as fuck. But the last thing I'll update you on is my Addie bug. Addie went to the vet this month, or last month, for her 1-year checkup. Poor girl. She's so excited to go for rides. As soon as she walks into the vet clinic, she knows where she's at. She starts shaking. It makes me so sad. So I just hugged her the entire time. I hate that they have to muzzle her, but I understand. She had a good checkup. She had a mild ear infection, and it was kind of interesting because she had just started shaking her head the night before. So I think we caught it right at the beginning. She's good now. She got a flu shot, and then I know you guys have been following her hip dysplasia situation, and the vet did ask us, like, does she act like she's in pain? She does not. He did say that sometimes dogs who are her type of dog, they just have a bigger chest and skinnier hips. And Addie does have that, but I think it's just her body. I don't remember a time when she didn't look like that. As a puppy, she was very thin, just very lanky. But once she became an adult dog, she had that body type. So he just said, you know, if she starts to hurt more, we can up her inflammation medication. I feel like she's been doing really well on the inflammation medication, so I don't feel like she actually needs a dose yet, but it was just nice to hear that that's what they would do. I went to a different vet because I had her in LA as I was working. I went to a vet there. They immediately wanted to do surgery. I didn't feel comfortable with that. Didn't feel like she needed it. So I took her in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was like, yeah, we're just gonna manage it. The funny thing is like when we went in for the second opinion, the vet took one look at her and was like, I'll do x-rays. I don't need to do x-rays because I know by the way she's sitting that she has hip dysplasia. It's also very common in pitties, so this is my finished look for the day. I think I did a good job keeping it very chill, like very low-key, unlike usual. I'm gonna insert some video of Addie at the end of this segment, and it's so funny. I think you guys will love it. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like the format of my monthly wrap-up in this way. I'm happy to do more of them like this. I really enjoyed it, actually. Just let me know. I hope you enjoy. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Are you sleepy?
I loved that one.